Hey, what's up, team? This is Eddie Gray talking about Initial, Slice by Initial Audio. They just came out. A very interesting plugin for any and all machine users. This may be a good fit for you. They essentially have created a loop slicer in conjunction with a couple of different sequencers, and it's pretty bananas. You got to check it out. It does come loaded with over 300 royalty-free loops and something they call beat starters, which are essentially the sound sources with patterns already created. They are using Synaptic's artificial intelligence algorithm ZTX, which is certainly one of the best in the game. So this thing really does sound incredible. I would highly recommend you check this product out. I'm going to go ahead and demo this for you right now. All right, so here is the GUI, very sleek, very easy to understand. There isn't a user guide or manual for this, and so we have to kind of figure out things on our own, and that's okay. Let's just break down all of the various constituents. On the left-hand side, we have the presets. So these are the actual sound sources, and on the right-hand side, we have associated beats. So you can take their sound sources. You can also create your own inside of the samples tab. And so if I enable the beat of the 3 a.m. sound source, not only am I going to have the waveform slicer at the very top here, but I'm also going to have a couple of different sequencers where I can draw in information. And we'll do a little bit more on that later. And so this is not necessarily the kind of sampler sequencer where you drag in to the DAW, although you can actually do that. I can take this specific sample and drag it into my DAW of choice, but that's really not the design here. The design is more in the box so you can flow and make music in the easiest way possible. You can slice your samples by means of slice modes. Can happen manually every 2 beats, etc. The stretch algorithm will give you different ways of processing the sound. You can crop your loops and samples as you deem fit. This play to end is pretty cool. If I disable it, you're just going to hear the one specific sample. And that could be good for, a kind of stutter effect like this. And then when you want to drop the beat so everything plays out, now you can use the play to end. And now when I hit the slicer, we'll play all the way through. Something like that. All right, I have the ability to mix the sample, drums, bass. We have a master channel up here as well. Here's the project BPM and then the sample BPM. Of course, this will conform to the project BPM if you hit the sync BPM up here. So without this, it sounds like this. Yeah, and that's not going to work. All right, so as I mentioned, the main editor is here. This is where we control how we loop this, if we're going to play this in reverse. All right, fade in, fade out. I can pitch shift this. We can use formant shifting, which is a kind of resonant audio quality. Check it out. That could be cool for transitions. Let's make this faster. And halftime. All right, good. We can use a gate function. That's kind of cool. Check that out. Look at the way it's affecting the waveforms. So lots of creative possibilities here. All right, now let's say I click on G4. Now I can appropriately play with this specific sample, just with G4. Let me find the key here. All right, so that's G sharp 4. So I can pitch shift that. We can loop it. All right, we can reverse. So we can reverse and loop together. We can play with the A and the R, attack and release. So when I let go of the key, it takes longer to stop the sound. Whereas if I have this set to 0, it's an instant off message. All right, we can increase the gain of the sample. So lots of good stuff here. Looks like we have a pattern and song feature as well. So if I press play and you have selected the beat feature here, you can listen to the specific beat. All right, so you have the ability to add effects down here as well. So again, you have a slicer slash sequencer here. So let's go ahead and add our own beat. So I'm not going to take their pattern. I'm going to click on this. Let's see if I like these sounds. All right, so I like these sounds. Let's start drawing in a specific beat. There's nothing inside of this right now, so we're going to start drawing this in ourselves. Now, you could do this in the DAW as well. I'm just going to do it here on the sequencer. All right, let's go to the drum sequencer. Let's start adding a beat here. Now, in order for this to start working, you do have to load the appropriate drum kit. And so I can go into samples and drag in my own 808s and such. So let's go ahead and just start that now. Now I'll just make this a quick process without really knowing what I'm going to add. I'm just going to add a couple things really quickly. All right, let's close these. And we certainly need a kick. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so let's see what this sounds like. All right, so you can see that this is fairly simple. Let me change the snap to grid to add a couple of triplets to the hi-hats. So let's see, I'll add some here, some here. So if you have no previous music theory knowledge or music rhythmic knowledge, really is not a problem. This thing does a lot of the work for you. Let's go and check this out. All right, and inside of this menu, I'm going to increase the gain of the hi-hat, which is kind of nice. You can do all of this in-house. All right, so I'm going to select the pattern here, increase the velocity over time, switch over to panning and pan from left to right. It's actually a very nice, clean workflow. Let's listen to this. Okay, cool. Let's add a couple of triplets. Actually, let's do this here. Oh, I have to get out of select notes. All right. So if you want to input the notes, you click and drag, very similar to the brush tool in Logic. And if you want to select notes, you go into that menu. You can also clear as selected and then clear all notes. Don't want to do that. Let's press play. the sequencer shows us what we got. All right, let's go ahead and double the snare with some claps here and here. Go back to 16th. All right, I'm increasing the length of the actual pattern or reducing it. Now, this is only one of 4 patterns that you can create. And this specific pattern is routed to pattern 1, which is right here. So if I want this pattern to be generated inside the DAW, I simply have to record it up here. All right, if I want to change the sound of, let's say, the kick, I'll click on there. And let's go ahead and replace that sample. All right, let's hit play. All right, so that's more or less the workflow in terms of creating all the various sounds. So I've got my melody harmony here, got the drum sequence. We can create more than one pattern. So ease of use is pretty nice. And let's go into the bass. Let's start drawing in a pattern here, but before we do, let's add an 808. All right, we'll start with that. Sounds pretty nice. And I have a feature here that I really like, which allows me to pitch slide a note. So check this out. When I click on that, I can actually bend this note in real time. So let me play this before. All right, so I've got pitch slide note selected, and I want this to bend down, let's say over to C4 over time. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is when I hit the play button inside the sequencer, you're going to hear this note bend down. Check it out. Okay, now you may not want it to bend that much, but let's just try this out just for fun. So editing inside of this is really easy. Oh, wait a minute. In order to create new notes, I have to deselect pitch slide notes. All right, so let's see what this sounds like. All right, so what I'll do is I'll chop this into 2 different notes. Let's see if this works. And maybe I'll use another one of these pitch slide notes, but going up. All right, let's see what this sounds like. All right, so you can see the allure, right? Fairly easy to use, really doesn't take a lot of thought. And so for this style of music, I think this is absolute gold. Here's pattern number 2. We'll just make something simple. So like I said, it's not like I can just grab the notes and drag them out. So far as I can see, the idea is that this is being sequenced into pattern number 1. And so I'm going to find that on my MIDI controller, and then I'll just play that in right over here. Or I'm going to use capture recording, that's Shift R, just to bring in the information without me necessarily having to do all that work. I like to keep things very efficient over here, especially when I teach over at hfmusicacademy.com. Let's keep things nice and easy. Let's try this out. All right, so this is now where I'm using the DAW as opposed to the sequencer. So probably the easiest way to think about this is I'm going to draw in all of my ideas here, and then I'm going to get them on paper when it comes to using my DAW. Let's finalize this by just putting together a basic melody in the slice sequencer, something a little bit more complicated than this. All right, I'm going to utilize the zoom feature here. Let's see what else I can do. Maybe I can start drawing in a bit more of a complicated pattern here. Bear in mind, sometimes you're going to have to stop the playhead because, well, there are two playheads if you think about it. There's the sequencer that's playing, and then, of course, you have the actual DAW, so just be aware of that. Yeah, so that's pretty simple there. Let me stop the sequencer. If you wanted to, you can actually create a song inside. You go to playlist and you start to draw in all the various patterns. So I'm not going to do that in the sequencer. I'd rather do it inside the DAW. So let's go back to main. And that specific pattern is inside of slice 1, as I remember. Yes. So let's play that. That sounds pretty cool. Let's see if there's anything else I could do to it. Maybe on D4 or on D, what I'll do is reverse it just to kind of make things a little bit different. So here's this slice, and I'm just going to reverse this one specific slice. Let's listen to this now. Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, so let's get this on paper. What note was that? So that's C-2. We'll just draw it in this time. So that would be down here somewhere. Create a note. All right, let's listen. Love Initial Audio. I'm all about what they're up to. I think they're finding unique and innovative ways to help the modern creative. If you're somebody that is either new to the game, this could be such a helpful way of learning how to write trap, how to write hip hop. If you're somebody that perhaps doesn't write hip hop on a usual basis and you just need a kickstart, this is certainly not a bad choice. I would say that it's probably a great entry level tool. Now, bear in mind, I just showed you the easiest way of using this. If you want to go deeper into the matrix, you certainly can. But go ahead and check out Initial Audio. You can use your own samples. I barely kind of scratched the surface. Let's say you wanted to go into the slice sequencer and create your own patterns. Well, you can certainly do that. You're not limited to just adding and using their samples. I can for sure go into, let's say, my own sample library. And let me go into my favorites folder. All right, so let's say I wanted to bring in their interstellar folder. I would literally just drag this over. You can see that Initial Audio is analyzing the information. And then now let's use clocks. Okay, so we'll drag this into, good, we'll drag that into the slice sequencer, and now we can play this out. All right, let's listen to the pattern with this new and improved sample. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, but here, just check it out. Hey, so I'm not sure if you caught that, but I literally just dragged in another sample by Initial Audio. That was absolutely bananas without knowing the key, without knowing if it was going to work. And just because of the workflow, everything is just autonomous. So anyway, go ahead and check out Initial Audio if you want to purchase it. They do have it on sale right now. And if you want to mention Eddie Gray or hfmusicacademy.com, I believe you will get a discount on top of that. All right, team. Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you at the highest level. If you're interested in learning logic and learning it in the fastest way, we do have 10 free courses that we're currently offering right now. They are available in the market. Go ahead and check those out. The link is in the description below. As always, keep learning, keep growing, keep evolving, and keep your frequency high. Let's go.